I'm trying to stage the timings of these webinars. You like my glasses, Carol? You know what they are? They're for blue light. So they're very specific to the computer. So I'm trying them out. So welcome, everybody. I'm sure we're going to have other people signing in as we go. Does everybody have a piece of paper and pen in front of them or just something to write with?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we start there? I want to do a little bit of opening and flow as an activity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a half of a sentence, and I'd like you to complete the sentence and just write down your response. Bridget is joining us here. Let's just be sure we get everybody on as best we can. So Bridget, I just asked everybody to pull out a piece of paper, pen, something to write with. And we're going to do a little bit of a free association here. I'm going to give you half of a sentence, and if you can fill in the other half. We're going to do 10 different sentences. So if you can number your paper 1 to 10. Gloria, Carol, let me know, ladies, if you're not able to share your video for some reason. I think I have allowed for everybody to share, but maybe not. There might be something stuck.
They say the host has to stop it. Thank you,
Okay.
Diana.
See if it comes through, because I think I just turned it on for you. And Carol, yours is already turned on. There you are, Gloria. Hi.
Thank you.
Okay, superb. All right, ready, everybody? Here we go. And I would say go in the flow on this and try not to overthink. Just go with, you know, if you write more than one thing, that's okay too. But here we go. My favorite childhood toy was, just write it down, whatever comes to your mind. My favorite childhood game was, this is number 2. My favorite childhood game was, okay. Number 3, the best movie I ever saw as a kid was, I'll repeat that. Number 3, the best movie I ever saw as a kid was, okay. That one might take a little bit more digging. Okay, number 4. I don't do it much, but I enjoy, fill in the blank. I don't do it much, but I enjoy. That's number 4. Number 5, if I could lighten up a little, I'd let myself. I'll repeat it. Number 5, if I could lighten up a little, I'd let myself. So curious what you're writing. Number 6, if it weren't too late, I'd. If it weren't too late, I'd. So Markel, what we're doing here, you just signed on. If you can get a piece of paper and a pen, we're doing some sentences. So I'm giving half of a sentence and you're completing a sentence, and we're on number 6. We're going to number 10. Number 7, my favorite musical instrument is. Number 7, my favorite musical instrument is. Number 8, taking time out for myself is. Taking time out for myself is. All right, number 9, my favorite way to dress is. Number 9, my favorite way to dress is. And the last one, what would I most like to buy for my artist? That would mean you. What would I most want to buy for my artist? Lots of flow themes here. Everybody have their answers? Okay. So why are we starting with this? We're going to talk about our responses to this. One of the things that really struck me after attending a creativity conference was how much creativity requires play and how much we have lost a sense of what play is. I really don't think that we have play front and center anymore. What is play? You know, how would you even define it? Does anybody want to try to just give a definition of play? I just would like to see how we even define it so we know what it looks like in our lives.
I'd say it's being free and just really kind of relaxed, enjoying what you're doing, things like that.
Markel, you kind of broke up a little bit, but what I got was feeling relaxed, enjoying what you're doing. Did I miss something?
Just being free,
Free.
kind of going at your own pace. You know, it's not super structured. It's just fun, peaceful.
Okay, great. So let me just play back some of those words and let's see if anybody wants to add on. So she said, having a sense of being free, relaxed, enjoying what you are doing, and going at your own pace, no particular structure. Are we missing anything around play? That's pretty good. Those are a lot of great adjectives.
Imagination.
Okay, what is imagination? Can we get into that a little bit? What does that look like if we know that we are in that space?
What Markel said.
Okay, so you see imagination.
I have something to say. What's that?
I would add laughter.
Today, I'm going to see if you can hear me better up here. And I got out some blocks and I asked the kids if they could make a train. And they go, well, how do you do that? And I was really kind of blown away that they couldn't make a train out of those because, you know, they're just little rectangles and, you know, you stack them front to end and make a line and make a train. And so I had to demonstrate, okay, let's try it like this. And then we played with train sounds, woo woo. And it was interesting to watch how they just were like, well, how do you do that?
So were you a little bit surprised that they were at a little bit of a loss on how to do it? It sounds like.
I was, because,
okay.
You know, especially because there were 2 boys in there, and usually boys would just automatically do that, either make them cars or make them trains. And it was the boys that asked, how do you do that? And the girl could do it better, but I was surprised.
Yeah. So one thing I want to tap into here is you're mentioning it, and Gloria, maybe you'd like to talk about this, especially with your son, Valentin, and some of the things that he's up to, which Tracy knows about Valentin. She was at we all had the pleasure of meeting Gloria's son last year at the retreat. He came in her place. And so, but he's working on some really neat technical virtual kind of self-growth type projects. And I'm just curious, one of the things that wasn't mentioned so far.
I was going to say imagination. Did that get mentioned?
Imagination. Tammy mentioned imagination.
Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, I got it down. And that is a key word. Yeah, absolutely. Imaginary friends, imagining you're in a store or in a bank or, you know, all those play spheres. What about the hands? Do we feel like play requires, involvement of the body, or is it a mind thing, or can it be a mind thing?
Of course, because that's where the imagination comes in.
The imagination comes in through the mind?
Oh, I think, but on the favorite game and toy, well, my favorite toy was the beach, but was Jacks. Do you remember Jacks?
Of course.
I still play Jacks. Not very often, but I do play them. And so that's definitely hands.
Very tactical, yeah. You know, one thing that comes to mind for me on this is Legos. So I was at this creativity conference where there was a man from the Lego Research Institute. They actually research play. And one of the things that they found was that children, in order to convey concepts, when they're nonverbal, what they can do is express things through Legos. And that was part of the impetus for Legos, was to have color and shapes in order to convey something. And so what was curious to me was that there is this sense of tactical, you know, something with the hands or with the body that we don't have to express. We may have imagination, but how does that get out of us, right? How does that manifest into our lives? And some of these aspects of flow are very nonverbal. They're in the low body. So I was curious what your thoughts are on kind of that sense of bodily manifestation of play. Jacks, that's a good one. Yeah, for sure. So let us, so play. And, you know, another thing that came out too is that those who work hard play hard. And that came out at the conference, that in order to have a serious mission and purpose, it's almost like we have to take play seriously. And what was coming up for me is that I was thinking that not many people know how to play. They know how to work. They don't know how to play. They don't know what it's like to have unstructured time, just to do things for the sake of doing them, for fun. And including myself, you know, that's definitely something that I almost have to like build in time for play, right? It's not just something that comes naturally. What did you find out about your responses? So when we went through these different statements, what was curious, surprising, or kind of playful and dipped into your sense of play?
I would say for me, this is Barbie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
I have to say, my favorite childhood toy was a fishing pole. And
wow!
I love to fish. We lived off of a lake, and we had a little boat, and I have to say, I miss it. I miss fishing.
Wow, and how flow that is.
Yeah, but that was actually, I could do anything, you know, I would go fish. I'd get a pole. If I got good grades, I got like a bobber, or I got a lure. I mean, back then you didn't get anything really that big, you know? You only got the pole if you got all straight A's.
Mhm.
Interesting. Do you ever feel, because I've heard from people who fish, that there's something about the quietude and the stillness of going out into the water sphere and having that alone time. Do you feel like it's the space that fishing creates, or is it the actual hobby of, you know, catching something and that goal?
For me, it was the space, aloneness, where you could do something and feel free and be quiet and listen to things and look at nature.
It's kind of one of the original meditations, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I caught fish and let them go. I didn't catch for the sport of having them. Sometimes I gave them to the cats because we lived on a farm and, you know, feed them to the kitty cats. But other than that, it was just for fun.
It was just for fun. Okay. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. And that you remember that you are so connected to nature even now as an adult, and kind of going back through those memories. And we can see how maybe as a child, we carry that with us. It's not like we're back in kindergarten. It's like kindergarten is with us. And so there's that distinction. And that even came up at the conference, how people would use play in past tense. Like, I used to do this. And it's kind of like, well, but we're all of that in this moment. And so when was the last time you went fishing?
Probably about this time last year. It's been about a whole year.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually looked at my fishing license. It expired in April of 2019, and I hadn't even used it since June of the year before, in 2018. So yeah, just finding that time to do it. I mean, I have other priorities. Go to the barn,
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, the idea is, how do we build this into our everyday? How do we get a little goofy, playful? Who said laughter? Bridget, you said laughter. So yeah, let's like the giggles. It's like, when was the last time you actually had the giggles where you couldn't stop laughing and it was kind of uncontrollable, and, just that good belly flow feel of laughing, like chuckling. It's more than even laughing. I see it as like the hearty belly laugh that is rippling through us, right? That sense of play. Are you able to play by yourself, or how does it require bringing people in? What do you all prefer? Tracy?
Sorry, I like them both.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think. I think for me, play doesn't have to be quite that structured, and I feel fortunate that it does happen. And the whole belly laugh thing, I love that. And that does, because we have people a lot at our home for dinner. And so those belly laughs and music and singing, they happen often, where someone will say something and the water comes right out your nose. You have to duck.
What a good feeling. I remember just even eating dinner when I was a child, and I was the oldest, and so I had my younger sister, and I would try to make her laugh at the dinner table, so that would happen. It's like playing jokes, pranks, just gag gifts and things like that. That sense of just doing something for the sake of just the goofiness. Like, the word goofy just keeps coming to mind for me. And I think that people are polarized to things like that because they feel like it's a waste of time. It's like, why would I focus my energy on that? But if you look at some of the best entrepreneurs, leaders, and people, like, they do carve out time. They do carve out time for them because they know this is like part of the formula for whatever we want to call it. Success, happiness, fulfillment is that we need that squiggly, chaotic, unstructured time. Bridget, what came up for you with these statements? Was there anything that was surprising for you?
No, my first word for childhood toy was Barbie.
Mhm.
I loved Barbies. My grandmother was a seamstress, so she made me a full wardrobe, and I didn't mind playing Barbies by myself, but I had a full wardrobe of clothes, and I had all the accessories, the cars, and all those things that you can have imagination and creativity. And I actually still have my Barbies. I have 2 little suitcases. I've kept them, and I've really kept them nice. I'm sure they probably have some value, being an antique. But yeah, it was hard for me to let them go. I played Barbies for a really long time, and I did. And a lot of it was just myself.
Mm-hmm.
Myself.
And there are all different kinds of Barbies now.
Oh my goodness. Unlike my days, I used the clothing for the creativity part, because my grandmother would make little dresses or skirts or pants, so I had only probably, if I recall, just a handful of Barbies, because back then it was just hair colors or skin colors. It wasn't all these fancy. They got so many now. Yeah.
Yeah. And so really making the most of what you had rather than, now in the stores, they just force you to buy another Barbie because they've reconfigured the look entirely, right? So it's like no more imagination. It's just like it's done for you.
Yeah. And I think, we've lost that. Yeah. too. But I was surprised at how easy all the answers came to me. I was a little nervous that I wouldn't be able to catch them, but they the flow must be good today for me.
That's great.
I've been drinking my water.
Very good. It's wonderful. Shelley, how about for you? What did you find in your answers?
I had said Barbies as well for a toy, because I remember a specific one. I remember it had that little black and white little bathing suit type thing, but it was like came in a little case, and yeah, I think that's what I remember the most. Yeah, the first two actually I had to think about for a minute. They didn't come to me so easily.
The game, that one?
Yeah, the game. I said tag because I mean, just that's what I remember, playing with friends or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting. And then one of the questions I didn't have an answer for. I can't remember the question now, but what was it? Number 6.
What about if I could lighten up a little? I'd let myself. If it weren't too late,
It was number 6.
Yeah, number 6. Yeah.
If it weren't too late, I would. Yeah.
I can't think of anything that I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't feel like I haven't done anything or missed out on something that I wish I'd done, or at least right now at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So,
It's good that you have that sense of contentment.
yeah.
Yeah, like you're not missing anything.
Yeah. I mute myself. There's a train going by.
Okay. Tammy, how about for you? What did you have any unusual or playful answers that you hadn't anticipated?
Yeah, some of them just flowed for me, and some were a little harder. But Jackson marbles were my favorite toys. Games, I guess. My favorite toy, I had 2. It was my stuffed dog Tickety, named by me, who was my friend and ally. And then I went marching around all over the neighborhood anytime my mother would let me in my Annie Oakley outfit. And when I walked up to people's houses, I would say, "I am Annie Oakley."
Adorable.
My little tricycle was my horse, and so I did a lot of that stuff. But that one, if I could do something, what would I do? I started laughing because I started to visualize myself. I would dance when I moved around our property, all over it. Just dance, just whatever I felt like. And I could just see my neighbor. Made me laugh.
Aww.
Trouble with the instrument, but I put trumpet or drum. But as we were talking, I still have my little recorder from elementary school, and I have stories about the little recorder, and that's why that little recorder is so special to me. Leaving it on a bus, and a bus driver that intimidated me brought my recorder back to me on the last day of school when she didn't have to. And so I have these nice little, so I put down trumpet or drum because I do like those, but I still have my recorder.
Wow. Another night.
I still have the sheet music too that tells you what numbers, where to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star again.
So when was the last time you pulled that out?
Oh, it's probably been about 10 years.
10 years. Okay. Interesting. Well, when you said that about the dance, a video came to mind. I don't know if you've all seen this video of, there's a crowd. They're almost like on a beach or something, or like in a picnic area. And this one guy stands up and starts dancing. And then another person decides to eventually join this guy. And then before you know it, it just spreads and everybody's just dancing like crazy, like you can't imagine any other way. And it's almost like sometimes we have to be the one to just show who we are and be ourselves, and it allow for other people to open that space and be themselves too. But that video always makes me smile because like that brave guy, whoever he was, just got up and started dancing and just felt it. So,
And I'm not at weddings. I don't get to go to a lot, but people say, whoa, she's having a good time. I dance with the girls. I dance with anybody. And I don't care.
love it. It's so good for our physical flow.
But around the property, I would have, I would have to shed some inhibition to do it around the property. Weddings accepted, you're supposed to have fun at a wedding, but are you supposed to dance around your property? Yes, but
what do you all think about that dance and, feeling inhibited or, social stigmas, especially around dancing? And I think for men, even more than for women, but it's interesting how dance is, usually we associate it with events, a prom or a wedding, or we take a dance class rather than just, organic in your car dancing with the steering wheel or, whatever that involves. It's interesting because children are always bobbing around and moving, aren't they? They really have that flow in them. I was in Michael's, which is an arts and crafts store, and the mother was checking out her craft supplies, and her 3 kids were all there. They were like they were like little, like they just didn't stop. They were like little balls. I was just looking at them like, wow, just how kids are just hyperkinetic. And how do we lose that sense of movement? Like we don't even fidget as much anymore because it's thought to be socially unacceptable. I used to have a surgeon that I worked with, and he would tell his patients, he would say, sitting is inflammatory. Fidget, move, get up, constantly have that integration of moving the body because it moves the mind. When you move the body, it moves the mind, which is one of the reasons why I think that physical activity is so healing for us. We are moving everything. Gloria, what about for you?
Hi, Diana. It's very interesting because today I was looking at, I don't know if you maybe know that Sahara Rose. She's very young. She's in Ayurvedic style, like Vata, Pitta, Kapha, all these kind of things. And she put maybe 1 year ago different videos about the dancing. So it's very dancing, but very move all these kind of things. So very, very sexy.
Yeah.
No? I like this kind of thing, but maybe it's not for me because I am mom. I don't know, many things in my mind. But I left myself more dancing, I think. And my favorite child toy was a little pony. I love
My Little Pony?
Yes, I love the ponies. Yes, maybe because I love to wash the hair and play with the, I don't know, it's every time I'm looking the pony, maybe for the color of the hairs. No, I don't know, I'm trying to find the why I love the ponies. And also my game was stop. This is why I love when you always say 10 different things. So I'm start to say, I love cacao. Why you love cacao? Because I remember my mother. I love these kind of things, like the play we are trying to play today.
Love
so
it.
It's good. The game was the stop, and always in the swimming pool. Movie was the Walt Disney movie, the dog. The Lady and the Vagabundo. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, The Lady and the Tramp?
Yes, the Lady and the
With a Dalmatian dog, a white dog with black spots?
I don't know, but it was funny, and there are many emotions in the same movie. So it was my favorite movie. And what else? My favorite way to dress is always skirt and dresses. Very, very easy. And I don't know if I understand. For my artist, the last one. What is the last one question?
The last one was, what would I most want to buy for my artist?
I don't know is the name in English. AAZEL. You have many in your house. The easel when you can.
Easel.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now I'm thinking in that.
The same with me.
Yes.
Easel.
Starting in these kind of things. Yes.
I love
feel
that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that strikes me is what you said about clothing and wearing things that are easy and skirts and dresses and things like that. The fact of even how we bring flow into what we wear.
The flow. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm just curious for all of us, just in terms of what you are accustomed to wearing and how it feels when you move out of that groove. You know, as an example, like if you're used to wearing pants or comfortable pants, jeans all the time, how does it feel when you have, more flowing clothes, a skirt, a dress, or Barbie's like, no way. Not me. What's your thought on that, Barbie?
No, I can't. Like, well, I can, and I have worn dresses, but you won't find one. There's one in my closet. And it's for like going to a special occasion, like a wedding or something. Mm-hmm. And then there's always boots to go with it.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, I just don't, I don't know what it is. I'm very girly. I don't have the girly thing.
Why? Maybe because I live in Cancun, also in Mexico. So I need to be beautiful of the weather and everything. Flip-flop and skirts and dresses.
Well, I'm in Texas right now and it's very hot. But, you know, I go to the barn where there's horses, you know, and manure. And so there is a woman that comes to the barn and she does wear a dress. She doesn't ride. She has a horse that's she needs to care for. She doesn't ride this horse. But I look over at her and she changes from her sandals to her boots and she's in like a negligee kind of dress, like a. So my husband see this, and he's going to think I should do this.
Well,
I'm a girly girl. So I love dressing up and dresses. And I think some of that comes from my mom always dressed me like a little doll. My grandma sewed, you know, so I'd always have the cutest clothes. But I just feel so, I don't know, feminine. I was raised in New Orleans, so for us, we're a very formal culture. And when I moved to Oregon, it was the biggest adjustment for me because you definitely don't wear girly girl clothes, even to work, you know, and even more business formal clothes. It was very casual, and it was very challenging for me because so much of my identity was those, you know, how I dressed and how I was raised. And so for me, that was an interesting question.
Wow, that is interesting. And I don't even know if we could say that somebody is more flow or not just based on clothing, but I do think it can change how we feel with our bodies if we're wearing a dress, a skirt, or jeans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a different feeling that I have wearing pants than there is when I'm wearing a dress. And it does open up a bit of a feminine feel for me. Carol, how about for you? What are some things that came up in these questions for you that you'd like to comment on? By the way, we can't see you.
I can't figure out how to get that.
How to do it? Okay.
But anyway, it was kind of funny because the first thing you said was the toy, and I will be totally transparent. I used to stand in front of the refrigerator. We had a dark brown refrigerator, so my reflection was very, very good. And I would dance in front of the refrigerator for hours until my mother would be like, get out of the kitchen. And she says, so when she talks about me as a little girl and growing up, she goes, you came out performing and you continued. And I guess it was until I can remember in 4th grade, we were in chorus, and myself and my friend Marilyn were in the front row singing Zippity Doo Dah, and we broke into a dance, and everybody made fun of us, and I never danced again.
Oh, wow.
But you will find me dancing in the grocery store when something good comes on. So, it's just funny that that was my toy, the front of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So, and I do believe I was Cinderella in another life, although I've not met the handsome prince. And my favorite game was Scrabble. But like somebody else, I like number 6. I kind of like skipped over it. It was just and all I wrote was finish. That's the only thing I wrote was I would finish.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean for you, finish? So it was, if it weren't too late, I'd finish?
I think I had some opportunities when I was younger, but I was having way too much fun, and I didn't finish them. And now I'm in my mid 50s, and then I was just sitting here like as I listened to others speak, I was like, well, why is it too late? Maybe it's not too late. So I don't really know. I'm going to have to think about that. And like Gloria, I would buy an easel for myself. So I think I will have to buy an easel. And I challenged my nephew, who's 8. He calls me Babel. That's his name for me. And so he wants to have Camp Babel this summer. And I go, well, what would you like to do? I said, how about if we do something creative? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you know what creative is. He goes, are we going to paint? I said, we can paint. So we're going to paint. We're going to go to Michael's, as a matter of fact, and we are going to buy paint and easels, and we are going to paint for camp.
Love it. And easels are on sale at Michael's. So
well, this is a good time.
You can find one very easily there. Yeah. I'm just Carol, that's so great. I love what you were saying. I almost feel like you and Tammy need to have a dance party. You're both performers of various types.
Well, you could say that. Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking too about kids and what squelches creativity. And one of the things that came up, there was a color therapist from the UK that gave a workshop that I attended at this creativity conference. And she said that one of the things that opens up people to their creative expression is to let people know around them that there will be no judgment. It's, and for her as a teacher, an art teacher, a color therapist, she has to really be conscientious about how she talks about people's art, because that is them, right? That is truly them. Mm-hmm. And so it was interesting because we all did this exercise with color, and it wasn't to achieve a painting. It was simply to have this connection with color. And she reiterated that let's not comment on anybody's painting, let's comment on what we're seeing as a whole. Right after she said that, there's a man who commented, well, I like some of these could hang on my wall at home and not others. It's like, that just went right over what she just said. And I feel like it's a good thing he didn't pick any out that he liked more than others, but I just feel like with children in that space of incubation, or even what you mentioned with dancing, like once somebody made fun of you or said something, it was like it locks down. So it's almost like, creativity isn't a product, it's a process. It is so a process. Yeah. And so how do we open ourselves back up to that process rather than thinking it's a product like a painting or a musical piece? That can be, but it doesn't always have to be that, right? We could just have fun with color on a canvas and not call it a painting. Just say we're relating to colors. So anyway.
Yeah. No, I grew up with both of my parents are the quietest people you've ever met. And one of their biggest frustrations was that I was like born Norma Ray, and I had to be, a defendant of everything. So my nephew, who's 8, We went to a wedding recently. It was the first family wedding. It was actually the first wedding he ever went to. And my sister, who is his mom, and I got out on the dance floor. And he was out there dancing with my niece's boyfriend. And he looked at us and he goes, I am just going to pretend I do not know you. And I said, well, there are only 5 of us out here. So if you prefer to pretend that would be fine. He goes, so are you going to go sit down? I said, no. So by the end of the night, we were all dancing together. And it was really quite funny because he was really going crazy. And we loved it. It was great. So it was a good thing. And so now he's like, okay, we can sing in the car. You are allowed to sing in the car. I said, well, it is my car. So he is a creative boy. And I said, don't anybody tell him he can't. I said, because you will have to reckon with me because he is beyond. So
and how do we really cultivate that and allow that to flourish? Yeah. That's so good that, I mean, you're really tuned into that with him, which is fantastic. That's good. That's very
he says we're connected. He said, we're connected, Babel. I said, okay.
Thank you, Carol. That was
you.
Fantastic. Trish, I think you came on a little bit later, so I'm not sure if you have a good sense of what we just did. But I gave everybody some sentences, half sentences, and then asked them to fill in the blank. So maybe you can kind of gather from what we've been talking about, like your favorite toy, what you like to do as a child.
Okay.
Anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Well, it's really funny because I'm a color consultant. And really what I do is I use color with painting. I can help you with your house, your office, your business, and your marriage, anything else. But what's interesting is my entire life, I played with anything that gave me color. My Barbie dolls were the ones that actually had these little wigs that you could put on them, and you could dye their hair. And I had color consulting at 10. And it was just amazing. And it seemed like my whole life has been about color. Whether, I worked for Halliburton as their training director, their international training director. And I got that job because I color coded their whole department. And, everybody could follow that. And globally, everybody can follow color. It's amazing. And so it's really weird because to this minute, I still do that. I can't help it. And one of my favorite games, which is odd, was a Ghostbuster kind of game. And it was a board game that lit up in the dark. It was kind of a glow in the dark, and it was all a ghosty thing. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. Monopoly was never my favorite. I hate it to this day. It's boring. I don't want boring. It's kind of after you've played it, it's kind of the same old thing, and it takes too long. But my movie, I guess my favorite movie as a child, I can't really think of one, to be honest. I guess as an adult, I like The Rock. It's ridiculous, but that's the one. And I don't know, what other questions did you? I didn't get a chance to see the questions and fill them out, so.
Yeah, and I just did them more impromptu style here. That's how we started the webinar. So some of them were, I think one of the ones that Shelley and I think Carol commented on this one. If it weren't too late, I would, whatever it is. So that seemed to be the one that came up for folks.
I guess, if I wanted to completely go a different direction with my life, is that really what that question is about?
Or just, I would say anything. It could be like, I'd go skiing, or I would go to France, or I would, it's almost like it's speaking to a bucket list or some things that maybe you haven't done yet that you'd like to do.
Well, I really, really want to go to Malaysia. And I really want to go to Tibet. I really want to go to Tibet more than anywhere.
Hmm.
Which is crazy because I'm not healthy enough to go to Tibet. I think you need to be a mountain climber or something. But anyway, I just think that's a very interesting culture. And I would really like to, learn more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Very interesting. Wow. Well, thank you.
I'm coming to your retreat. And by the way, I cannot wait because it's Washington State, which, I was raised in California, but I haven't been there in a while, and just love the whole West Coast. Not sure I could live there anymore. I'm in Texas now, and I got used to that. But I really love the West Coast. It's beautiful, and it'll be a really nice time. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to having you there too. It'll be, I'm assuming, good weather. It usually is in September in Washington.
Well, Washington's one of those places where you just have to get ready to get wet. And I can't wait to meet Tracy because she was my partner last time. And oh my, I have to apologize to everybody because if you're waiting for me to be your partner, good luck. And then I got lazy with Tracy because I'm like, oh, I'll get to see her at the retreat. So I'm good. So I apologize. But it'll be a lot of fun. And I love this group, by the way. I have to tell you, I'm not very technologically great, and I don't really like Facebook. And most of the groups I joined were some business thing, and I, wasn't really impressed. But this group's been great, so thank you. All of you, really, it's been really awesome. And so I appreciate it.
Thank you, Trish. Fantastic. I want to comment on some of the partnering aspects that Trish spoke about. Before I do that, Markel, you weighed in a little bit already. I don't know if you would like to make any other comments about your responses.
Sure.
I hope you're not driving, right?
I am not.
Okay, okay.
Well, my favorite instrument is flute, I think because I'm a flutist. And the music, I would buy music if I were to buy something for my artist, style, just because I like to buy new music. And then actually I'm with whoever else liked Barbies growing up. I played Barbies probably until I was 12 or 13. And then I still played Barbies when I went to babysit. So I was always excited to go babysitting because then I could play Barbies again. So so that's some of mine. And I'm not sure, I'm still pondering up on if it weren't too late, I'm not sure because I've done a lot of really cool things. And I think, one day I would like to travel to Europe, and it's definitely not too late for that. So I've got a lot of things ahead. So.
Plenty of time.
Yes.
Good.
So I'm enjoying the flow, and I am noticing a lot of creativity as I go about, and I got to play in a musical this week, and my kids were in it, and I played in the orchestra, and the conductor, he was so fun. He was dancing up there with one of the songs while he was conducting. He was really getting into it. So it made it really fun. He definitely was going with the flow.
Oh, nice. And that helps everybody else to go with the flow too when somebody is setting the stage for that and creating space, right?
Yes, absolutely.
How fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Tracy, were you going to say something?
I did it. Everybody's talking about Barbies, and I had a troll doll house. And it was my mom, when she sold the boat, she got rid of everything we had, and I just assumed, she would save it for me, and she didn't. And then I was probably in my 40s, and a friend that I worked with, we were talking about, things we played with, and I said, oh, I had a troll doll house. Traumatically, it was, given away. And she called up a few months after that and said, I was just at this kind of antique mall place in Portland, and I saw a troll doll house. And I was just like, oh, and Mark overheard the conversation, and he went and got me the troll doll house. So I now have a troll doll house again at 65. I mean, I've had it for probably, maybe close to 20 years, but I got my troll, not the one, but I got a troll doll house back.
Oh, I love it. I don't know, like the trolls themselves, are they just like the smaller, big hair and like, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of a little rectangle shape, and it looks sort of like a big lunchbox, and the front of it, and it's sort of stone-like, but it's painted. It's all painted plastic. And you open it up, and there's a little troll bathtub and a little troll chair and a little troll table. And so I didn't do Barbies, but I had a troll doll house, and I have it again.
Aw, how sweet.
Yeah.
That makes me think of fairies, right? Even for my 5-year-old niece, I bought her this little fairy house with little fairies. And I said, don't you hear the fairies outside? And she's like, no, where? I'm like, come on, you have to listen closer, right? And I think if we get kids early enough and we kind of play into that, and my sister doesn't like it because she always has to quickly say, well, Auntie D is just imagining. It's like, well, maybe I'm not.
I don't know that you are.
Maybe there are fairies that I'm connecting to, Brenda. But it's like, we have these filters, and that's why I there are certain Disney movies that are just so good at bringing that alive again.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fairies and the fairy realm, the nature realm. There's that one princess movie, Pocahontas, where she's talking to Grandmother Willow, who's the tree, right? And so with my niece, she likes princesses, which I'm not as into, but every time we pass a willow tree, I'll say to her, Grandmother Willow, let's go say hi to Grandmother Willow, and so like, I like that you're bringing in the nature component, Tracy, because I think just even having that as a background for our imagination.
Well, I still talk to the trees.
Of course.
I talk to all the plants in my yard.
Of course. I mean, it's, you've retained such a childlike nature, like in a really good way. Like you have that purity. And it's such a redeeming quality because so many adults have lost it. And then they just kind of get, again, dried up, shriveled, stagnant. They're not happy. They're constricted, contracted. And again, I think flow just keeps, those are the people you want to be around at a party. Those are the people you want to be talking to.
I would get you in trouble at a party.
In a good way.
Well, hopefully in a good way. Yeah. But I think growing up, like Gloria is close to the beach too. And I think growing up with the ocean, there's something magical about that does keep you childlike. At least in my opinion, it's just, I don't know, something so special about it. And you can't help but play at the beach. You get your toes in the sand and all bets are off. It's playtime.
Yeah, you really get messy on a beach.
I grew up with horse, but I was living here since 21 years ago. So I still play with sands. I agree, Tracy.
Good for you.
And again, back to the hands, back to what is tactile, right? So sculpting, clay, just having something in your hands. And I'm noticing that some businesses, some companies will have in the middle of like a conference table, they'll have toys. I don't know if any of you are in corporate settings, but I'm starting to see more of the play bleed over into certain companies because they do recognize like the science of play is important. So like while you're talking and trying to come up with ideas, you're doing the Rubik's Cube, or you are playing with like the paper clips that are all connecting, or, in some kind of way we're playing with our hands and having fun and creating something. So on that note, I do want to cover, before we close today, I do want to talk about partners. This is an interesting group because, the energy of a group creates kind of the collective energy of all of us and kind of our journey together. And so some of you have expressed to me either by email or even on the Facebook page, the need to really want to connect more fully with a partner. And so I think, I was talking with Heather, like, okay, how do we help everybody do this a little bit better? Because one of the things was we would put out a list of the partners, and then we did them in threes in case the group of two wasn't able to work together for some reason because of scheduling, that they had another option. So what I'm thinking for the fire month in August, that perhaps we have you actively tell us if you want to do partnering. Some of you have actively told us that you don't want to do partnering, and we have kept you off of the list of partners. But if you really feel like, I need to do partnering, this helps me to solidify and to connect with people. I've asked Heather how we want to do this exactly. We're middle of the month, but I'm thinking that we might just have you email us so that we give an intentional partner list out. And I'm also thinking, if you feel drawn to somebody in the group and you say, Deanna, I'm just going to partner with Barbie. I'm feeling connected to her and I just want to do it that way. You can do that too. So I just want to be sure that as we talk about the flow and partnership, that we are helping you to cultivate healthy partnership in this group in the ways that will help you grow. So whatever we can do best and better to facilitate that, let us know. But what we were just thinking is we would make structured partners, and then you would connect with each other on Facebook Messenger. Because you're all on Facebook, we know that, so then you can easily access Messenger. You just go to the person's page and then message them. But if that's not easy and you don't like that and you'd rather have a formal email introduction, we can do that too. So I just want to be sure that you still have another 50% of the month dedicated to flow. We're still in the flow here, so I want to give you the opportunity to really honor that sense of partnership with people. And I do think it's good to rotate partners. I think it's good. You get different perspectives into things. I know some of you have emailed us and said, I like my partner from the root. I'm just going to stay with her. That's okay if that's your preference, but you might feel like eventually you want to rotate and get to know other people too. And maybe you want to keep your steady Eddie partner and layer in a different partner. You can do that. So I don't have any rules around that. I just want to help you maximize the most from people in the group and what you're wanting to get from the experience. So you tell me what you want to do, but just want to let you know that we're open to that. And Tracy and Barbie, I've connected you on the Facebook page because I thought, both of you had commented on that thread, and I thought, okay, if you see an opportunity like that, that might be like, okay, now maybe is the time that I can reach out to that person.
Well, I actually had misunderstood what those groups of 3 and 4 were. I thought, because in some other classes you've done, I thought we were going to chime in on a certain day or something. So I probably just didn't read it right, but that was what I heard.
Yeah, and you're right, Tracy. I mean, in the root month, that's how I started off, was thinking that, okay, let's have like a trio of people come in and make more active posts. And then I heard back from some of you that you didn't want to do that whether it was time was a factor or whatever. And so then I mentioned, as we were moving into flow, that I would just move away from that and we'll just go with the flow of what everybody wants to do. And so if people want to make more active posts, let's just do it and like dive into the water of the river of Facebook and just do that rather than have it more structured. So I feel like, just meeting everybody where we're at. But yeah, you're right. I mean, initially I did have it set up like that, where we had a little bit more active participation with folks. The last thing I wanted to address before we close, and we literally just have 1 or 2 minutes. One thing I haven't talked a lot about, and I'm curious if you'd like to have a thread on it, because before I come into these webinars, I often just do a quick meditation and kind of like feeling the energy of the group. One thing we haven't talked about that I think could be important for some of you is to talk about abundance, prosperity. And I'm not necessarily talking about financial wealth. I'm talking about abundance and prosperity in the dynamic sense of the word of life. So if that is of interest for you, let me know in some way. Maybe have a post. I'll put a post on our page where we can talk about it, because this is an area that I've really gone into myself personally, because I realized that growing up in a low to middle class family, that I had a lot of limiting beliefs around what is abundance. And then I started to expand that. And had a lot of shifts in that area. So I wanted to share that with you. And it's perfect for the flow. The root is about everyday survival. The flow is about abundance in a big sense. It's like abundance professionally, abundance personally, abundance generosity. We might think of that with the heart, but it also comes through having resources to flow and to give out to others, as well as to receive back from them in a physical kind of way. Whereas the heart is a more emotional kind of sphere. All right, lovelies. Let's just go around quickly and just say one word from today. One word as your flow takeaway, whatever resonated for you. So, Barbie, would you want to just
What
like one
resonated?
intuitive?
Okay, so what resonated for me today in this, what we talked about?
Yeah, or just anything from flow, just one word.
One word, orange.
Orange, okay, great. Shelley. Oh, we need to unmute.
I like what you just mentioned about abundance and just different ways of thinking about that, different aspects of that. I think that's interesting.
Okay, abundant.
Yeah.
Got it. Tammy. You have to, did you unmute?
Sorry. Imagination.
What was it?
Imagination.
Oh, yes. We're back to imagination, which I love. It's more important than knowledge, as we know from Einstein. Tracy.
Playing and living out loud.
Living out loud or laughing out loud? Living out loud.
Living
Ooh.
out loud. But laughter would, of course, come in there.
I like that. Okay. Bridget.
Mine was having more imagination in my life.
Okay. Having more imagination. Gloria.
More creativity with AC, like AC.
Okay. We'll be looking for that easel.
Easel, exactly.
Yeah. You know, I use my easel for a lot of different things too. You can go beyond paintings and canvases with an easel. It's awesome. I love easels. Markel.
Maximize.
Maximize. Okay. Kind of on that abundance theme. Carol.
Permission.
Permission. Ooh. Permission to be creative. Permission to be abundant. Permission to be playful. It's a gate opener. And Trish.
I think my takeaway on it is creativity, art, the kinetic part of your hands, you know, really to work with your hands. That's something that I totally get, again, in the color world, but it's amazing. I had a heart attack in April, and my recovery was to sit around and pretty much do nothing. And so on my butt, I painted my whole backyard deck. And pretty soon, when I figure it out, I'm going to send you guys a picture, and you will absolutely freak out. But with that said, it was all about creativity, artwork, and flow with my hands. So, thank you.
That's inspiring. I would love to see a picture of this deck.
Yeah.
Wow, I can only imagine you being a color therapist what that deck looks like.
It looks great. Different.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Great
all.
workshop. Great webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish. Okay, everybody. Thank you for your participation and play. And this week we're focused on food. So fats and oils. And how many of you, can you give me a sense too, if you like science-y things? I know that I position this course as more, you do, okay. All right, because I know I position this as more personal growth, so I've been kind of veering away from that stuff, but some of you may like it. So I am going to post more science-y things this week on food and flow.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you like that? Okay, good.
Yeah. And oil, I find I'm just kind of struggling with the whole, not that I'm afraid of oils and fats, I'm not, but I find that I'm not a big fried food person, and you can only dump olive oil on so many green things, and I don't know, I'm not creative enough to. So anyway, yeah, thank you. I would love the science of all of that.
So, and just thank you, Trish. I in the webinar lecture for this week, so I went into that a little bit, and we can dive even deeper this week. You guide me, you lead me to where you want to go, and let's go deep into that. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week of orange, nuts and seeds and fats and oils and lots of things that are flowing. Seafood, all these kinds of the animals, the plants that live in the sea.
Diana, and also the books for this flow, because the last one was the Carol and Mice and Always,
Yes.
and more books for this one, for this year, for this flow.
What I have had in your reading material, like in the email, if you look at some of the ideas there, one of them was The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
I have it, yes.
Love this book. And actually, that's where I took this exercise that we just went through today out of, because she talks about blocks to creativity. We have to unblock her. It's not so much teaching somebody how to be creative, it's teaching them how to remove blocks.
That is so true. I learned that with my sister. You know, she was the painter, not me, but she couldn't do it. Oops, sorry.
Wait, there is a, yeah.
Gotta unmute myself, so sorry.
No, thank you for chiming in. Thank you. All right, lovelies. I will see you in 2 weeks on the webinar again, and it'll be on a Tuesday, more in the morning Pacific time this time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.